Hey, make sure all your phones on mute.
There's nothing I can say to make you believe. Yeah. Man, ain't nothing I can say. There's nothing I can say to make you believe. To make you believe. What if I told you that I was the son of God? Would it be easy to believe, or would you make it hard? And I finally learned the difference between wise and smart. When I say we bless people, they say times is hard. And all I can tell them is they ain't never lied. Reincarnated, I'm back like I ain't never died. Man, I won't say it if it can't be verified. Niggas say they saw me from more stars, they terrified.
1, 2, 1, 2. My brothers, my brothers. Shalom Israel. Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, Brotherhood Night. Tuesday night, Brotherhood Night. Like we always say, Brotherhood is synonymous with sisterhood, so everything that we say to the brothers, anything that we saying about the brothers goes for the sisters as well. Tonight's class, we're going to get into a little bit into ghettos, you know what I mean? I picked this topic because we always like to call ourselves ghetto, but a lot of us don't really understand where these words come from that we use in these what did it say in the Bible, bywords and proverbs that we use for ourselves. We don't really understand where these words come from. A lot of these words are derogatory, and we don't understand it, but we still call ourselves that. You understand what I'm saying? So we're gonna get into a little bit of history. So-called history. You understand, it's still going to be about brotherhood. History was last night, Monday night, but we just going to talk about the word, this ghetto, and where ghettos come from. You understand what I'm saying?
Come on.
A lot of us, when we talk about ourselves, we like to say, yo, I'm ghetto. You know, I'm from the hood, I'm from the ghetto. You understand what I'm saying? Not really knowing where it comes from. Where does the ghetto come from? Where does the word ghetto come from? Anybody know?
Doesn't it come from when the Nazi Germany, when they separated and put the Jews and confined the Jews into ghettos where they had to live?
It actually comes a little further than that. It comes actually from, it comes from Venice, Italy. You understand? And it was synonymous with the so-called Jewish man. That actually started in Venice, Italy, and if I'm not mistaken, it was about 1516 A.D. The ghetto, you understand? And basically, it was the same thing. It wasn't quite as harsh as they did in Nazi Germany, but altogether, it was still a filth, rat-infested area that they boxed them into, and they mashed them all into one area so that they would know where all of them was at. You understand what I'm saying? Basically, that's just a little small history of the ghetto. I want you to pull up that first article. I want you to read that first article.
Understand, right?
This was slides.
Understand the Venetian ghetto.
There we go. That's it.
Understanding the Venetian ghetto from a historical and literary perspective. In 1516, on a swampy Venetian island, originally the site of a foundry, the Ghetto Nuovo was established 500 years ago. The island and a connected island, which was established later and known as the Ghetto Vecchio, was home to Venetian Jews. By law, they were relegated to live within this gated and walled area known today as Venetian Ghetto, to segregate them from the surrounding Christian population in Venice.
See, hey, now listen to that. It said to segregate. You understand?
Come on.
Familiar, right? To segregate. You understand what I'm saying? Go ahead, finish that.
The Venetian government allowed the Jewish residents to engage in restricted trades such as money lending, pawning, and secondhand clothing sales outside these segregated spaces during the daytime.
Hold up, read that sentence all over again. That sentence you just read. Read that again.
The Venetian government allowed the Jewish residents to engage in restricted trades such as money lending, pawning, and secondhand clothing sales outside these segregated spaces during the daytime. However, at night, the gates that surrounded the Venetian ghetto were locked and guarded. Despite the seclusion of the Venetian ghetto, it became a thriving cultural hub over time.
You see that right there? That shows you, right, that even though they lived in their ghettos, they were still afforded certain rights and privileges. Privileges to do trade, privileges to do business, privileges to money lend. I mean, think about it, money lending, right? They were allowed to lend money not only to their people, but to the Venetians or the Italians or the people of Italy. You understand what I'm saying? They were allowed to do business and to prosper. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, now, look at the ghettos that we live in today. How many black money lenders do you know? How many black supermarkets do you see? You understand? The ghettos back then were semi-regulated, but they were also afforded privileges as citizens. You understand what I'm saying? They were afforded certain things that we are not afforded today. Think about this. This is in 1516 AD, over 500 years ago. And they were living in ghettos. Ghettos that relegated them to small, enclosed spaces. You understand what I'm saying? And they were still treated halfway like humans. You understand? They were given certain things to take care of themselves, to help their families, to help them still prosper. You understand? Go ahead, finish reading.
There many early Hebrew books were first published, including the Hebrew Bible and the Babylonian Talmud. And in fact, nearly a third of Hebrew books printed in Europe before 1650 were printed in Venice.
What you doing? Go ahead.
On Tuesday, February 21st, the Law Library of Congress commemorated the 500th anniversary of the Venetian Ghetto with a program, Understanding Seclusion, the Legal Dimensions of the Ghetto.
Listen, it said they commemorated. They had a special celebration for the people who lived in those ghettos. Have we had a special celebration for us living in the ghetto yet?
Nah, sir.
You understand? So that right there alone shows you. And then think about this too, right? The so-called Jewish man doesn't get upset about that. So evidently it was halfway decent. You understand? They having a celebration about the Venetian ghettos. You understand? Go ahead.
The program explored the legal aspects of the segregated ghetto through historical and literary lenses. This was the second program in a series that the Law Library has prepared to commemorate the anniversary. The Law Library hosted its first program last spring, which highlighted the work of Primo Levi and Venetian Jews' contributions to the arts and economic framework of Venice.
There you go. Listen, you hear? They commemorating their contributions to Venice, right? Which meant, like I said before, that they had particular privileges living in ghetto. See, ghetto, what we see today does not mean the same thing as it meant when they were put in ghettos. You understand what I'm saying? The so-called Jewish man is the one, how I can't say brought the ghettos to the United States. You understand? But the ghettos in the United States were actually fashioned after those ghettos in Venice and also the ghettos in Germany. Remember, go ahead.
So like I said, but the Jewish man, didn't he own a lot of the properties of America? When black ghettos were over here, didn't the Jewish man own them?
Remember this, right? Remember, in 1863, Emancipation Proclamation, right?
Come.
So then, 1865, it was legal. You know, it was everybody was released, so-called released, right?
Come.
And then all of a sudden, what happened? By 1920, you had cities all over the country that were prospering. This is history. You had cities all over, black cities and towns all over the country that were prospering, right?
Okay.
This is by 1920. And then at the same time these cities and towns, black towns were prospering, our oppressor had just come out of World War I, and then all of a sudden he was into the Depression. So now, after you come out of a war, you see black men coming home from the war, and they coming home to these nice towns and cities, but you coming home to depression, the Great Depression. Remember, what's her name? Madam C.J. Walker was a millionaire at that time. So as a so-called Caucasian or white man, you come home to poverty and depression, and you see the same niggas, or excuse Salakia, the Negroes come home, and they prospering way past you. All of a sudden, you get a...
Is that why they had like the race riots of the 1919?
There we go.
And the 1920.
It all links together. You understand what I'm saying?
Come.
We look at those race riots. We look at the race riots. A lot of times we don't look at the situation that led up to the race riots. Or we always hear the story of a black guy stepped on a white woman's foot or tried to rape a white woman, and all of a sudden a race riot broke out. Instead of looking at the history behind it and seeing what led up to it. After so much of watching these people who just came out of slavery, and all of a sudden they going past us. That's how all of those got destroyed. Once all of those cities and towns got destroyed, remember, black people had a place to go. Segregation, we was already segregated. They didn't want to do anything for us, so we had to do everything on our own, and we prospered. Right? And prospering, what happened? Now the people who thought they were over you or better than you, they see you prospering and they just steadily decline. So what happened was they began to destroy all those cities and towns. And the mistake that most of the cities and towns did was what? When they had their things insured, they were insured by who? Our oppressor. And being insured by the oppressor makes the rules from that end. So a lot of those cities and towns, when they went to go cash in on these insurance policies, all of a sudden these insurance policies didn't cover what? Race riots. So black people didn't have enough to build. So they had to leave the lands vacant and vacated the land that they had, and then the white people came in and scooped it up, rebuilt on it, just like Seneca Village, just like Black Wall Street, just like a whole lot of other black cities and towns all across the United States. Doing that, who's the one that comes in and scoops up most of the land and the property?
This is the Jewish man?
The so-called Jewish man.
So
listen, when you go back in history and you look at the so-called Holocaust in Germany, right? What was one of the main linchpins of the Holocaust in so-called Germany?
That the Jewish man was amassing and hogging up the wealth.
Exactly. The Jewish man was, just like you said, was amassing and hogging up all the wealth. And what was happening? He was money lending and everything. So if I money lend to you, I can put usury on it, enough usury that'll keep you in bondage. To me, what was the propaganda that Hitler used? That they were robbing us. In a nutshell, you understand what I'm saying? That they were robbing us. So it turned the German man that lived across from the Jewish man, and they were friends at first. It turned them into enemies. You understand? And this is how the Jewish Holocaust first started. So yeah, what you're saying is the property that was being bought up was mostly being bought up by the Jewish man. And think about it, just like today, especially here in Baltimore City, right? Most of the properties, the slumlord properties, are owned by the so-called Jewish man. You understand? And if I'm not mistaken, Jared Kushner is a so-called Jewish man. President Trump's son-in-law. You understand what I'm saying? It's a so-called Jewish man. And they just had on there, a couple of years ago, how many slum properties that he had here in Baltimore. You understand what I'm saying? The connection is tight. These people got so much money, they got property all over the country. I wouldn't be surprised if he had property in other countries. You understand what I'm saying? But yeah, the so-called Jewish man. You understand? Let's grab that. Let's grab this. Let's do this. Just like we said, grab Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 37. Let me know when everybody get it. Man, that chicken was good. God damn, that chicken was good. Now, boy, you got me a new spot. Yeah, that was all right. I don't eat it from everywhere.
Deuteronomy 28:37, right?
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 37.
Oh, like you got it? Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 37. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations.
Hey, listen, a proverb and a byword. You understand? We ghetto. That's what we call ourselves. Nigga, I'm ghetto. You understand what I'm saying? These are the things that when other nations look at us, they look at us in astonishment. Like, yo, how can you call yourself that? You understand what I'm saying?
It's lucky, sir. Black. Black is not a nationality.
Exactly.
That's a byword.
Byword.
Our byword.
Exactly.
Our description of who we are.
Hold up. African American. You understand? You understand? Hold up. But even the word African, that's a man's name. You understand what I'm saying? And we have that, and this is the thing that destroys us the most, is we have so many bywords, proverbs, and bywords for ourselves that it disconnects us. And this is one of the very things that tears our brotherhood apart. You understand what I'm saying? Because you want to be ghetto, and I want to be an Egyptologist, or I want to be an atheist, or I want to be a Christian. You understand what I'm saying? Or I want to be a Muslim. You understand what I'm saying? These are the very things that tear apart our brotherhood. And this is the reason why it's so hard for us to bring our people together. Because we think of all the menial things that don't matter. You understand what I'm saying? This is who I am. You understand? This is how I feel. And this is who I'm going to be today. You understand? Our attitudes determine who we are going to be on a day-to-day basis. You understand? A byword and a proverb. You understand what I'm saying? We are the only people and this is the crazy thing right here, is we are the only people on the face of the planet who don't know our true history.
Come on.
You understand what I'm saying? We are the only people on the face of the planet that really can't. We don't have a history to stand on. Most of us, 95% of us. I gotta go deeper than that. I gotta go 98.5% of us 99%. Shit, what is the UPK? We're about 0.1%, right?
10 and 13. You talking about blacks in the United States?
Blacks, Hispanics, and natives.
Well, together, just black people is roughly around 10.
No, I'm talking about
Black people
that.
around 12.
I'm talking about that absolutely know our history. See, we know our history.
0.
0%.
What size do you get?
0.1%. That's I said 0.1%. You understand what I'm saying? Most of us don't even have a leg or a leg to stand on when it comes to knowing who we are. And this is the thing that can't bring us together. This is the reason why you have Hispanics and Cubans fighting. This is the reason why you got the Benjamites and the Judites fighting. You understand? This is the reason why you got the Seminoles versus the I'm going to say Wichita. You know what I'm saying? The Indians. You understand? We got different factions of us. We all the same people, but this is the reason why we can't come together, because we don't know who we are. And then when we see somebody who looks different from us, oh, they ain't my people. You understand? Not knowing that we all going through the same hell together. You understand what I'm saying? I just watched a clip the other day of that Canadian pipeline going through the Indian land, right? They had the police out there with the what's the name guns? They like not guns, but spraying water, trying to get these Indians out the way so that they could run the pipeline. You understand what I'm saying? And then we look like, yeah, they dumb as a mug. You understand what I'm saying? Not understanding that these are our people. You understand? People look at that and say, oh, I ain't got nothing to do with me, when it has everything to do with you. You understand? Our brothers keep making our brothers and sisters keep making the same mistake. We keep going in trying to make covenants with the oppressor. Native Indians make that same mistake over and over and over again. And so does Judah. You understand? We make covenants with the oppressor every day. Every day. When you go to that voting booth, that's making a covenant. That's choosing. You choosing. We putting a king over top of us that the Most High did not choose. You understand what I'm saying? When you step into that voting booth, you making a covenant with the oppressor. After we made that covenant with the oppressor, look at what happened to his capital. You understand what I'm saying? You got oppressor fighting oppressor. You understand what I'm saying? I was just watching the CNN with this Trump impeachment. You understand what I'm saying? And they talking about the oppressor got so much love for his own people. They don't even want to impeach Trump, his own party. You understand what I'm saying? And not to say that they not scared. Of course they scared. But if it would have been Obama, they would have impeached him. And he'd have been done. You understand? He'd have had a week left, and they would have impeached him on that third day. You understand what I'm saying? If he would have been our people, didn't matter. You understand? But a proverb and a byword. This is what we go through. Go ahead.
Among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee.
Among all nations, not only, does our oppressor look at us toward this way, but the other nations. You understand? And they treat us as such. This is why Zephaniah 2:1 says what? Gather yourself together, yea. Gather yourself together, O nation not desired. Because the Most High knew that these nations are pitted against us. You understand? A house divided cannot stand. And this is the reason why we cannot stand. Because we have a hard time coming together. As a people. We have a hard time coming together. You know what I mean? We can't come together with those Hispanics because they coming over here to take our jobs. You understand? We can't come together. The Native Indians don't want to come together with us because they look at us. They not our people. They don't go through the and that's the thing about it too, is we look at every brother and sister that we got, or we look at so-called Hispanics and natives and say they don't go through what we go through. And they look at us and say, oh, they don't go through what we go through. Native Indians say the same thing on reservations. They in prison camps right now. Those reservations are nothing but prison camps. Anytime you can't do what you want to do on your own land and you got to get permission to build, you got to get permission to build on your own land and it has to be approved by your oppressor, that's hell. You understand what I'm saying? That's hell. That all we got right there?
Come on.
Hey, you're right.
Come on.
Let's hit that second article. But before we hit that second article, I want to hit Psalms 50. Oh, no. Hosea, chapter 4, verse 6.
And what?
Hosea chapter 4, verse 6. Hold on, let me grab it.
Hosea, chapter 4, verse 6. Oh, I got it?
Come.
My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also forget thy children.
Right. Let's read that again. Let's break that down. Let's read that again.
Come. My people are destroyed for lack of
It
knowledge.
says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. What's the knowledge? Is it Islamic knowledge?
Lies, sir.
Christianity knowledge?
Lies.
Is it Buddhist knowledge?
Lies, sir.
Is it Egyptology?
Lies.
What knowledge is it?
The knowledge of the law, statutes, commandments. Sir.
Exactly, the law, statutes, and commandments. And this is another trick that the enemy has played on us, right? Because a lot of our people look at the Bible and say, that's the white man's book. You understand what I'm saying? And it's always going to be the white man's book when you get the white man to teach you that. When you get the oppressor to teach you your book, it's always going to be the oppressor's book. Because the oppressor is going to teach you how to be humble and how to subject yourself to him. You understand what I'm saying? How to bend down and how to bow down to him. Slaves, obey your master. You understand what I'm saying?
So like sir, I know this. I know this doesn't fully relate, but it just makes me think of. It's like our oppressor always takes something of ours and then pretty much tells us how to do it. I see this in the school system.
Right.
You'll see the oppressor in your school system. Now they're telling you how to teach black kids. When you don't even know how to deal with black kids. But now you're training blacks how to teach black kids.
Right.
It's crazy.
Think about all of the things that we invented, and now they're trying to tell you how to do it.
Come.
This is what happened.
It's like the oppressor's understanding or lack of understanding of this particular the book, the scriptures. When you see it through the lens of the oppressor, we no longer even seek justice. Not only that, we don't even have a desire for justice.
Right.
So much to the point where people say slavery, that was in the past.
Yeah, that was in the
Or
past.
even more recently, your mother, your grandmother, your sister could be shot down in the street, and you're saying, you know what? I don't even want them to go to jail.
I gotta forgive you. I gotta forgive you.
You killed my mom, shot her down. You know, I'm gonna forgive you, though.
Exactly. And the thing is that takes years and years and years of conditioning. And remember Captain Zariak did a lecture. He talked about a doctor that talked about after so much abuse in a person, all of a sudden, generations down the line, you'll see those traits come out in their descendants. You understand what I'm saying?
Come.
We think about it, right? when you beat a person down, when you beat the love, or when you beat the masculinity out of a person, so much so you begin to see it generations down the line. So that today, a lot of the brothers and sisters have never been whipped as a slave. You understand? Their backs have never been beaten. But they always say what? We need to forget about slavery. But when our oppressor talks about 9/11, oh yeah, we got to celebrate. You understand what I'm saying? When they talk about the Holocaust, you see black people with tears coming down their face. Oh, I can relate. You understand what I'm saying? But when it comes to us talking about what was done to us, oh, we need to put that in the past. And that's coming from our people. You understand what I'm saying? That's coming from our people. That's a generational curse that the ISUPK is forcing out of our people. We bringing our people back to their real history, and this is the problem with us not having our own schools too, because you begin to be taught to think like your oppressor.
Come.
You begin to be taught how to love what your oppressor loves and hate what your oppressor hates. So what's happening now is they're doing what with the transatlantic slave trade?
Well, first thing is they're not even calling it the slave trade anymore. They call it the transatlantic migration.
Sorry, wait a minute.
But think about it. Listen, think about it though, right? What is a migration? What's a migration?
Well, migration is when people voluntarily
Move
from one area to the next.
One place to the next. You understand? In search of a comfortable place to be. So if they say this was a migration, then you didn't come here, you weren't forced to come here. You came here willingly, as a willing participant. You understand what I'm saying?
Come.
You were willing to get your back beaten. Think about it, right? You were willing to get your back beaten to help America be built. That's a migration.
Like I said, that's a recent phenomenon, and I know we look at it like, this is ludicrous. Everyone knows that the slaves didn't have any choice, or people didn't have any choice in that particular situation. But think of it from this perspective, this spin or this change in the narrative is not for you.
Right.
It's for your grandchildren's children.
Right.
So it gets to the point where if you're not really looking into the history or looking at the story behind what actually happened, and you just look at the title or the headline and you see migration, you're automatically going to assume that, well, some people decided to up and leave and go from here. And that's on purpose.
Think about this though, right? When we think of migration, what's the first thing you think about when you think of migration? Now go basic. Don't get too deep, go basic. What's the first thing you think about when you think of migration? When I think of migration, the first thing I think about is birds flying somewhere to be comfortable for a period of time, and they flying back. They migrate here and they come back when the weather changes. Boom. You understand? They're willing. And when you think of migrate, you think of, oh, let us go over here and do something over here for a time, and then we can go somewhere else after that's up. You understand what I'm saying? So think about what's happening with the children at the border. Right now, we going. You feel that too? Yeah. We going with the children at the border, right? A lot of those kids, 5, 6 years old, really don't know their heritage as far as being from El Salvador, Ecuador, or Mexico and things like that. They really don't know that part of their history, right?
It's like, sir, they don't know that Spanish is not their original language.
Original language.
They really don't know that.
But I'm not going to go too deep right now. What I'm saying is the little tiny bit of history that they do have for right now, what happens is when they take those kids at the border, separate them from their parents and send their parents back and keep the kids, all of a sudden, now you got kids, just like they said, they still got about, 1,100 children that still haven't been, brought back to their parents. They put these kids in adoption, and these kids know what? They know nothing, and all of a sudden they become Americanized. You understand what I'm saying? Now they're full-fledged Americans, and now they don't understand that they have been taken as slaves, and then they've been, I don't want to say brained, conditioned, there we go, conditioned to love America. After a while, our children going to be conditioned to think that there was no slavery, that this was a migration, that we came here willingly. It is important for us, and this is brotherhood, it is important for us to retain and to transfer this information that we know to our children, to transfer it to their children so that we will never forget. Remember that shirt? I seen Jim Hyman with that shirt with the person with the dude with their back beat. We shall never forget, never forget.
Yeah.
These are the things that we should never forget. We should never forget how we got here. Because right now, we sitting right in the middle of history being made. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
And the history being made is that we actually being whitewashed as we speak. Every time they print a book with transatlantic migration, that's whitewash. History is being whitewashed right before our eyes. We always looked at those books. Remember all the history that we seen, and when we first came to UPK, and you start finding out, they whitewashed that. Oh wow, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They start showing you the books of what's that book called? Russian Icon. Russian Icon, and they show you the people there whitewashing the pictures, turning the black people into white people, making it. You understand what I'm saying? This is a form of whitewash. Brotherhood teaches us to learn your history, know your history, pass your history down. These people passing their history down to their children, to their children, to their children. White people right now believe that, most white people believe that they worked hard for everything that they got. That's whitewash. You got about 95 to 98% of white people that don't realize that how many black cities got torn down for them to have the America that they got. Go ahead.
It's like, sir, it's heavy that you bring that point up about they actually believe that they worked for everything they got. And the double-edged sword in that particular conditioning from the oppressor's perspective is that we as a people, we have no contribution and have done nothing to advance this country. That leaves most young oppressors who eventually become older adults in positions of power to have no respect or no value in black people or Hispanics or Native Americans because you've done nothing. And by that same token, we also believe that we contributed very little to the success or the building of this country, and so we don't have no value in ourselves and look to the oppressor as though he's something great.
Think about this though, right? Think about how many of our brothers and sisters that we fight with when we downtown to tell them who we really are, and they tell us we need to forget that, we need to drop that. You understand what I'm saying?
Come.
They are in slavery in the mind as we speak. You understand? We trying to break those chains. What you have?
They educated us.
Yeah. You understand? They educated us and we educated them. You understand? Our oppressor. Think about, just like we said at the beginning, all the inventions, all the things that we created that they stole. You understand what I'm saying? Every time we talk about the light bulb, we think of
Thomas Edison.
when he had a piece of glass. It was the black man that created the filament that created the light.
Latimer.
Exactly, inside of the light bulb. All he had was a glass. He had a glass job. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
But of course, black people weren't even allowed to hold patents legally during
Right,
that time.
exactly. Yeah, most definitely. You understand what I'm saying? So it was nothing for a white man to come along and steal it. And think about this too, right? Another little piece of history. We got, what is it called? What is it called? It was a law, slave code. A slave code that they used. If you created anything,
You talking not the manumission?
the manumissions. Yeah.
Meritorious
Meritorious manumission. You understand what I'm saying? And meritorious manumission, if you created or you invented something that your slave master or the oppressor could make money off of, if you gave it to him, you would win your freedom. You understand? Meritorious manumission. The reason why they created meritorious manumission, because all of the great inventions of that time were being created by us.
Come.
So if you got a bunch of slaves, all you did was say, look, if you invent something, I just might give you your freedom. You understand what I'm saying? And this was meritorious manumission. You understand?
So like you said, in the meritorious, so when they created something, and they let their master have it per se,
Yeah.
they probably gave the rights over to the master. Then
Gave them rights.
Come.
You can't even give the rights to them because you can't go get them yourself.
But the thing was is you may
Get your freedom.
get your freedom. You understand? Sometimes they freed them, sometimes they didn't. Remember, slaves didn't have any rights.
Come.
You understand? So, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Also, in the meritorious manumission, wasn't it when if you told on another black that was about to be rebellious, you get a crumb?
Listen, it was if you saved his life or his property, if you invented something that he could make money off of, or, just like you said,
Told on another black.
told of an insurrection or
Somebody trying to.
somebody trying to flee or escape, he could win your freedom. You understand what I'm saying? So, meritorious manumission. You know, I mean, these are the things that they use to destroy us. Go ahead, read that again.
Hosea chapter 4 verse 6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge.
We destroyed for a lack of knowledge. All we had to do was read the Bible. You understand? And get some understanding of the Bible. You understand the laws, statutes, and commandments. We had to understand that the Bible is not a religious book. It's a book of laws. It's a book of statutes. It's a book of commandments. You understand? It's got dietary laws. It tells you how to eat, what not to eat. It tells you how to do business with your brothers, what not to do to your brothers. You understand? How you could do business with the other nations or the heathen nations. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
And this is what the so-called Jewish man uses today. So-called Jewish man only uses the first 5 books. So think about if we would use the whole book. Think about where we would be. I mean, think about it, right? The Bible says that the Most High made us a special people, a peculiar people. You understand what I'm saying? Look at us. Everything that we do, we prosper in, but we don't get the profit from it because we are a cursed people, because we transgress against the Most High. You understand what I'm saying? So all of the other heathen nations get to look upon Zion. They get to benefit off of everything that we have. Think about the so-called Chinese man comes from China, from out of a rice paddy field, being the poorest thing on earth. And then he comes over here and he has 2 steps above us already. You understand? And we are willing participants in making him rich. Knowing that they hate us, even when they treat us like garbage, we continue to give them our money. That's what integration does. Integration destroys a people. Think about it, right? We are the only people on the face of this earth that are willing participants in integration. Every other nation refuses to integrate.
Come.
You understand? We live in the same nation, but they refuse to integrate. They stay to themselves, and we the only ones that complain and say, we can all live together. Can't we all get along? You understand what I'm saying?
Come on,
This is the
come.
reason why we are a destroyed people. We are a destroyed people for a lack of knowledge. Go ahead.
Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee.
It says, because thou hast rejected knowledge, because we reject this book, because we say this is the white man's book, because we say that, what do we say? The white man wrote it. Because we say that none of those men in the Bible are real. Because we say that I'm a Muslim. I don't believe in the Bible. You understand? This is the reason why we reject this book, and this is the reason why we are rejected by the Most High. Because we are everything but what the Most High created us to be. You understand? Go ahead.
I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also forget thy children.
Listen, because you forgot the law of thy God, I will also forget your children. This is the reason why that iniquity falls to the children, falls to us, falls to us. Listen, the Bible says, what does the Bible say about our oppressor? He has to pay for the iniquities of his children, right? Right? So, say that again? Right. So, what do you think we're paying for? The iniquities of our fathers.
Come.
Our fathers didn't believe, and they taught us not to believe, and then we teach our children not to believe. You understand?
Come.
It goes all the way down the line. It stops with us, because now we believe. Do you understand what I'm saying? So we have to stop the cycle. You understand what I'm saying? You ever seen a family? All right, I know a family, and the mother, the great grandmother, the grandmother, the mother, and the daughter, all of them had children at 13. Wow. You understand? And then, not to say that they didn't take care of their children, you understand what I'm saying? But at 13, bam, bam, that's a curse. It has to stop somewhere. You understand what I'm saying? It's just like drug dealing in your family. Your father sold drugs, you sell drugs, you teach your son to sell drugs. Bam, 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 the iniquity of a father. You understand what I'm saying?
Come.
So we stop that iniquity right here. We become believers. We believe the knowledge. We take the knowledge and we use the knowledge. We believe in this book. You understand what I'm saying? And then we teach our children. That's how you stop it. You understand? We stop that ongoing cycle. Is that it? Okay. Hey, grab that next.
How America's ugly history of segregation changed the meaning of the word ghetto. Today, for many Americans, the word ghetto conjures images of rundown and crime-ridden African American segregated areas, inner cities, and a common euphemism. This connotation is relatively recent and has only become mainstream in the past 70 years or so. Beforehand, the term was primarily associated with Jewish urban quarters.
Say that again.
Jewish urban quarters.
It said Jewish urban quarters. Remember, ghetto was never associated with us. It was Jewish urban quarters. Go ahead.
And its changing meaning illustrates the troubling tenacity of such an idea. The linkage between Jews and ghetto began in the early 16th century. In 1516, as a compromise offering to those agitated for the city to be Christian only, Venice confined its Jewish population to a little island in the northern part of the city known as the New Ghetto.
Think about that, right? They said they separated them because Venice was supposed to be what? Christian only. So we're going to put the Jewish people over in this little cubby hole, and let them live and fend for themselves. You understand what I'm saying?
Come on.
Christianity has never been good at all. It is nothing good about Christianity. And if Christianity, when we think of Christianity today, us as a people, we say, oh, Christianity brings people together. You understand what I'm saying? Christianity makes everybody come together, and everybody can love if we all become Christians. You understand what I'm saying? And you see right there, Christianity was a religion that separated people. That believed in separation and segregation. You understand what I'm saying? Not to say that segregation is not good. It's good for our people. You understand what I'm saying? Or separation, to be separate from them. You understand what I'm saying? Go ahead.
In 1516, as a compromise, offering to those agitating for the city to be Christian only, Venice confined its Jewish population to a little island in the northern part of the city known as the New Ghetto. The name ghetto likely derived from the Venetian verb gettare, meaning to pour or to cast, and probably can be traced to the earlier presence of a copper foundry in what was to become the all-Jewish district.
It said to pour or to cast, to pour out or to cast out. Go ahead.
From the 16th to the 18th century, the institution of the legally compulsory and physically enclosed exclusively Jewish enclave spread to Rome, Florence, Mantua, and a host of other Italian towns and cities. The Venetian label stuck, and these mandatory Jewish areas throughout Italy came to be called ghettos too.
You keep going, sir? Yeah, go ahead.
The emancipation of the Jews of Italy starting in the late 18th century led to the dismantling of these ghettos, culminating in the dissolution of the last surviving ghetto in Europe, the Ghetto of Rome, in 1870. But the word was harder to get rid of. In the ensuing decades, the word ghetto was resurrected to refer to new big city Jewish immigrant neighborhoods, such as Manhattan's Lower East Side, once labeled the New York Ghetto. These areas were densely crowded but legally voluntary and more mixed between Jews and non-Jews in reality than in popular perception. Later, still during World War II, the Nazis revived the ghetto as a site of enforced Jewish segregation, as places of mass starvation and disease, and eventually of deportation to the death camps and killing fields. However, the Nazi ghettos bore little in common with the original Italian ghettos beyond the name. Meanwhile, African Americans have begun employing the term ghetto to refer to their own residential segregation as early as the 1910s, at a time when several American cities were passing zoning ordinances that prohibited black people from living on blocks where the majority of residents were white.
All right, you know what that is. That's redlining. You understand what I'm saying? It kept us separated. But they saying that we didn't give out neighborhoods, or we didn't call ourselves ghettos. They called them ghettos. That wasn't a term that we used. You understand what I'm saying? Remember, that term ghetto came from the so-called Jewish man. And the Jewish man owned most of the property. So because the Jewish man owned most of the property, he created ghettos for us and relegated us, just like he got relegated in Venice. They relegated us the same way. Go ahead.
Black usage of ghetto became more widespread amidst the legal battle over restricted covenants in the aftermath of World War II. A 1948 report on segregation in Washington, published the same year that the Supreme Court banned judicial enforcement of restricted covenants in Shelley v. Kramer, contained a chapter on housing segregation entitled Ghettos in the Capital. The authors made no bones about their intent to evoke the specter of the ghettos of the Holocaust in the way they referred to the residential segregation of blacks. Ghetto is an ugly word, one chapter opened. To a Dane, it is ugly. To a Nazi victim, to anyone who saw how Hitler placed a yellow mark on Jews so they could be made to live apart, suffer apart, die apart, to an American, it is ugly. The new black referent for ghetto truly came to the fore in the 1960s as urban race riots started in the middle of the decade, vaulted segregated areas onto the front pages of newspapers and onto television screens across the nation and the globe. Digital history resources reveal how usage of the word ghetto soared in the 1960s and 70s, and how phrases like Negro ghetto or increasingly black ghetto came to eclipse Jewish ghetto.
Right. You understand what I'm saying? See, the ghettos were not, ghettos weren't black. You understand what I'm saying? That word ghetto came from the so-called Jewish man, and then it slowly began to turn over and be associated with us. The so-called Jewish man pushed that ghetto on us. It wasn't something that our oppressor today, even though that so-called Jewish man is related directly to our oppressor. You understand what I'm saying? You got something?
Nah, sir.
Oh, okay. But that wasn't associated directly with us. You understand what I'm saying?
Come.
Ghetto has always been the so-called Jewish man thing. So now he runs his ghetto just like he got ran by the Venetians back in 1516. You understand? Except for he makes it a little bit more harsher. And then on top of that, we don't get the what was we talking about earlier? We don't get that privileges that they had to do business amongst their own people and make a way for their own people. You understand what I'm saying?
Come. So, like, sir, it's funny you say that because even in Israel, they had a documentary showing that even in Israel today, now the Jewish man always talks about the camps that Hitler sent them to.
Right.
But even over in Israel today, there are camps where they keep outsiders that are in that they say, well, they're not Jewish, they don't belong here. And so they have certain type of camps that they put foreigners or outsiders who claim that they're Jewish. They put them in their camps.
Exactly.
So it's very hypocritical.
Hypocritical. But that's what the so-called Jewish man is, a hypocrite.
Okay.
It is nothing special about them. You understand what I'm saying? They stole everything that they got. You understand?
Come.
All the way down to our identity. You understand?
Come.
They are the so-called Jewish man. We are the true Jews of the Bible. You understand?
Come.
They are the devil that the Bible speaks of. You understand what I'm saying? Let's grab a scripture. We're going to grab Jeremiah chapter 15. Verse 5.
Jeremiah chapter 15, verse 5. All I can got it?
Come.
For who shall have pity upon thee, O Jerusalem?
It says, for who shall have pity upon thee, O Jerusalem? Who gonna pity us? You understand? You understand? Because we said earlier, we give ourselves we take on those proverbs and those bywords. You understand? We call ourselves ghetto. You understand? And as we call ourselves ghetto, we tend to fall into the meanings of those words. We tend to live out those meanings. You understand what I'm saying? So every time we call ourselves ghettos, we fall deeper and deeper and deeper into the meaning of those words.
It's like Sir General Hyman just did a class on that, how the repetition is something that's constantly repeated to you. It's sort of like a hypnosis, so to speak.
Right.
And they set the atmosphere and the inflection of the voice to ease or put you in a calm or ease mood, and they sort of whisper and suggest.
Right.
And repetitiously say it over and over, and before you know it, the people's behavior.
You live in it,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And think about
Exactly.
let's take a little look at we don't want to veer too far off, but let's look at rap music. Remember when rap music started off? Rap music was totally positive. You
Come.
understand what I'm saying? Everything in rap was positive. Even the hard music was positive, and it was uplifting, and it made you proud to be black. You understand what I'm saying? And now, all of a sudden, they changed the narrative over. and it was all about money, just as in
Smoking weed.
smoking weed,
Throwing women
drinking,
away.
money, getting money, and doing all that. And then all of a sudden, when we first started hearing, it was like, yo, what the hell is that? And all of a sudden, everybody, now that's all you hear, and now dudes just fall right into it. It's just like the skinny jeans, right? Back in the day, I remember back in the 80s and the 90s, yo, if somebody saw you with skinny jeans on, you got rocked on. You understand what I'm saying?
It's like, sir, well, the first thing they did was change the terminology. Tight jeans is what they are.
Tight jeans.
They
Exactly.
tight.
And that's the first thing I always tell you. I say, look, check this out, right? What's the difference between skinny jeans and tight jeans?
Tight jeans is for the females.
No, what's the difference between
Ain't no
them?
difference.
Ain't no difference.
They changed
You
it so it be
understand?
acceptable.
That's for girls.
Yeah.
You understand? It's for girls. You gotta tell half of these dudes, like loosen up your pants. You understand what I'm saying? And get some balls. You understand what I'm saying? How can you fall? I just can't imagine me falling for wearing tight jeans. You understand what I'm saying? Who sells somebody tight jeans and then make it sound so good that you be like, yo, give me 2 pair? You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
Tight jeans, you know what I mean?
From
That
the
was
bag.
for girls. That's stuff that you like to see
From the
women.
baggy jean era.
Oh God! Oh God!
It was just the opposite. You know what I mean?
No, okay.
Just the opposite. So who?
90s.
But let's not veer too far. But who designed them?
Oh, it's like it's a lot of homosexual Italian men.
Exactly.
Loosely called men.
Exactly. You understand what I'm saying? Who is? You got to look at who designing them.
It's like, so you want to finish reading that scripture?
Go ahead.
For who shall have pity upon thee, O Jerusalem? Or who shall bemoan thee?
Or who shall bemoan thee? What does that mean, bemoan? What does it bemoan mean? You can look at it and tell.
To show discontent
Discontent. Who will?
Or sorrow?
Right. Or sorrow. There you go. There you go. Who will moan? Who will mourn for you? You understand what I'm saying? Basically, it's saying who will mourn for you when something happens to us. When things happen to us, who mourns for us? Nobody mourns for us.
Nobody.
Because we ghetto. You understand? Because we living out the things that we calling ourselves, the proverbs and the bywords. Who wants to mourn for somebody? We the only ones that mourn. We mourn for ourselves. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Or who shall go aside to ask how thou doest?
Who's going to ask when things happen to us? Who's going to ask how you doing? Is everything okay? You understand? These other nations could care less. You understand? Because we ghetto, and because we put these proverbs and these bywords on ourselves, because we call ourselves ghetto, they leave us to fend for ourselves. You understand what I'm saying? But every nation on this planet knows exactly who we are. And this is the reason why every nation feeds off of us. What nation does not benefit off of us on this planet? Think about it, right? You got the Chinese, man. Think about it. How many Chinese people do you see at the Chinese store buying Chinese food when you go in there?
It's a lot.
You see what I'm saying? How many Chinese people do you see buying Chinese food?
None.
When you go into the Arab chicken spot, how many Arabs do you see coming in there buying chicken? You understand? You understand what I'm saying? I mean, think about it. The East Indian people. How many East Indians do you see going into Dunkin' Donuts? You understand what I'm saying? Everybody feeds off of us. They come straight into our neighborhoods. They place them straight into our neighborhoods, in the ghetto. You understand? Our oppressor, it was a time where our oppressor, after we lost all of our stores, our oppressors owned a lot of our stores. But it became dangerous for the oppressors. So the oppressors did what? He put the Chinese man in there. He put the Arab in there. He put the East Indian in there. You understand what I'm saying? And remember, these people come from abject poverty. So the oppressor says, I tell you what, I know where you can become wealthy at. All you got to do is be able to deal with these people. You understand what I'm saying? They ain't like us from the beginning. Oh, we can deal with them. You understand what I'm saying? And now everybody making their bones off of us in the ghetto. Because we call ourselves ghetto. And when you call yourself ghetto, you live ghetto. And we said that earlier. The Most High tells us what? Gather yourself together. Yeah, gather yourself together, O nation I desire. You understand? Come together and take care of your own people. Stop calling us ghetto. Stop calling yourself ghetto. Be who you are. We are the Hebrew Israelite. We are the true Jews of the Bible. You understand? We are who this Bible is speaking about. We are the people that this Bible is speaking about. You understand what I'm saying? So, with that, let's go to, you may have another article? One more?
Come.
Let's hit that last article.
It's like a book or something. Poverty in place, ghettos, barriers.
Is that the top of it right there?
Comical.
Go down a little bit. What's that right there?
This is the forward, and it's got chapters. Chapter 1, studying neighborhood poverty.
Read that, read them chapters. Just read the paragraph.
So this is coming from a book called Poverty in Place, Ghettos, Barrios, is it? Barrios, and American City. Chapter 1 is studying neighborhood poverty. It says, every large city in the United States, whether economically vibrant or withering, has areas of extreme poverty, physical decay, and increasing abandonment. Most city residents will go to great lengths to avoid living, working, or even driving through these areas. Usually these neighborhoods are seen only on nightly news broadcasts after a gang-related shooting or drug raid, or they are depicted on television shows populated with every stereotype. But millions of Americans cannot keep a safe distance from them because they live in one. And these...
Stop. They say millions of Americans can't keep away from them because they live in one, right? Who are they talking about?
Us, right?
They got to be talking about us because, where are the white ghettos at? Where the Chinese ghettos at? Where the Arab ghettos at? You understand what I'm saying? But they write, a lot of times they write some of these books to make it seem like this is an epidemic that's hitting all nationalities of people. You understand? When there's nowhere, I have never seen a Chinese ghetto. You understand? I've never seen an East Indian ghetto. I've never seen an Arab ghetto. I have seen the black people ghetto, so-called African American ghetto. I've seen that. I've been in quite a few. You understand what I'm saying? And when they write some of these things, they make it seem like that this is a thing that hit a lot of different nations when it's only hitting one nation. Only one nation of people. When it was in Venice, Italy, how many people did it hit? Hit one kind of people. Even though technically those are the same people. Europeans are European, whether they call themselves Venetian or whether they call themselves so-called Jewish. You understand what I'm saying? They all the same people. But we are a different people. And it's not hitting any other nation but our nation. You understand what I'm saying? It's not hitting any other people on the face of this earth but us. If anybody on the face of this earth is hitting them, it's hitting them, but they in their own land. So they get to live how they want to live. You understand what I'm saying? We don't want to live like this, but we got placed in this position. You understand what I'm saying? And we don't come up out of this position unless we do what?
Let's return back to law, statutes, commandments, and separate.
Turn back to law, statutes, and commandments and separate. When we talk about separate, that doesn't mean we got to go off and leave this land and find another country to live in. We can separate, just like the Chinese man does here. Think about it, right? I ain't never really think about it till a couple of years ago, where you never see where these Chinese people live at.
La.
You never see where they come and where they going from. Even the Arab, you understand? Even the East Indian. And I think I know where a couple of them live at. Out Ellicott City, the East Indian. I was working a part-time at the Walmart out there. And bam, I seen a couple of them. They go right across the street to the new townhouse they built right across the street from the Walmart out Ellicott City. You understand? Yeah, in Columbia too. Yeah.
Come on, slack.
Yep. You understand what I'm saying?
Come.
But they keep where they live at discreet, just like the Ethiopian and the Somalians. They own a gas station right out there, and that's another thing. We don't own any gas stations. We don't own any supermarkets. We don't own anything of substance. Anything that can build a nation of people, anything that can build a community, they don't allow us to do that. You understand? Because in order to have a functioning society, you have to have a people that are on the bottom. You have to have a people who fill your ghettos.
Slack, and that's something I try to teach, but there's no equality in a capitalistic society. There's no equality.
Right.
There's no such thing as that. And that's why I tell my students, like, you got to get that out of your mind. Even when they say we're trying to have equality, and a capitalistic society wouldn't even function like that.
And you ever heard when Trump say fake news? He talk about those stations with fake news. They all have fake news because they all try to make it seem like they are biased. You understand? Or not biased, but they are not biased.
Come.
They make it seem like they are all equal. You understand? I heard CNN talking about, they did like 15 to 20 minutes talking about Fox News and how Fox News were putting out lies. Like they don't put out lies. You understand what I'm saying? What do we say? The so-called Jewish man owns those networks, right? So he puts out all the propaganda that he can. Think about it, right? He owns Fox News, CNN, and all of those other stations. So he can put out any kind of news he wants to get any kind of feedback that he wants. You understand what I'm saying?
I'm not trying to change the subject, but is that one of the reasons why they? I just heard. Is that one of the reasons why they went after Cosby because he was trying to buy one of those networks? I'm not sure if that's true. I keep hearing that.
Yeah, no. Listen, all right, listen. Don't make marriages with them.
Come.
Thou shalt not make marriages with them. Listen, Bill Cosby put himself in a trick bag because he wanted to deal with a white woman, and he dealt with many white women. You understand what I'm saying? And whether he did try to buy him or whether he didn't, he put himself in the situation that he's in right now. You understand what I'm saying? And that's basically the only thing I can say about that because I don't know if it's true or not. I heard the same thing, but my mother always used to tell me, don't try to get your way out of something that you stuck yourself into. You understand? Don't try to push the blame on this. When you put yourself in that situation, deal with the situation. You understand what I'm saying? And he put himself into that situation. You understand? Now,
I will say this: the timing of when they chose to come after him is very suspicious.
Right.
Now, for whatever reason, whether it was the property that he owned, which was speculated to have some oil on it, whether it was for, whether it was for the network that he was trying to buy.
Wow.
But I do know one thing, none of this was a problem until he started to do these tours where he was speaking to black people saying that we need to change our behavior and the way that we do things.
Did you ever see that little documentary he did back in, what it was, 74?
60, Slacky. You talking about the 68 where you talking about when he was showing how they portray blacks?
Yeah.
I showed that to my students.
Right.
It is in 1968.
I actually got it in. I actually got it locked into my phone.
Huh.
I actually saw it a couple of years ago.
Huh.
You understand? And it blew my mind. You understand?
Real good, sir.
But the thing is you get people like that who have the information, who know what's going on, but still fall for the trick. You understand what I'm saying?
His own lust.
Right. Exactly. You understand what I'm saying? So he was nothing but a victim of the same thing he was trying to get us to avoid. He was the same victim to that. You understand what I'm saying?
Come.
So, was we finished? Was we
You were
finished?
about to call for another one.
Oh, was it? Okay.
It was Jeremiah. What was it? Jeremiah 5:15-5.
15 to 5. We done that, right?
Come.
Come.
That was the last one.
Okay. All right. And with that, I'm gonna pass the class over to. So we got some the prayers, right? Priest officer, Uriah. We're gonna hit these prayers.
So we in the class first, right?
Huh?
We in the class first.
Yeah, in the class first, and then we're gonna do the prayer.
Come. Part two for that.
Huh?
Good, so we need part two for that.
No, not that for you.
Let's give that powerful priest a hand. Excellent class. A lot of good information. The ISUK security announcements. We are the ISUK out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under command of General Yohana. New rules for brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to show themselves in the world. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or a sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother or sister will court each other. After the 6 month period, the brother or sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. You can find this in Numbers 18:21 and Malachi 3, 8 through 10. Means sent in Hebrew and is pronounced Ma'ashara. 10% of every penny of the increase the Lord gives you to the treasury give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund. Free will offering for the priest, not mandatory. Whatever amount you would like to give. The upcoming Holy Convocation in about 2 weeks and a couple days on February 25th and 26th is the Feast of Purim. It will be on a Thursday and a Friday. That is coming up in about 2 weeks. And then after that, you know that we have the Passover coming up on April 24th. That is a Saturday, I believe, on April 24th. That's also coming up. So we have a few feasts coming up in the next few months. Remind Akim and Akwakin to check on social media such as ISBK.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so on for ISBK events and materials. If a brother wants to be a trooper in the school, then he is to start wearing all black, which includes black boots, shirts, pants, headband, or scarf. And with that, Amani. Men of Israel, we're going to give one courtesy salute to the teacher. Men of Israel, Amani Shabbat, Amani, Barak, Yahweh Bashir Yahshua
Yahweh Shibbi Hamshabbat.
Yam Yamata, class dismissed. Amani, Wapanya Hakoda, who's rising face the east. In the Hebrew, then in the English. Abanah.
Abanah.
Shabbat
Shabbat
Shemayim.
Shemayim.
Kodah.
Kodah.
Hayah.
Shabbat.
Shabbat.
Yahweh.
Allah Barakah.
Allah Barakah.
Taba'ah.
Taba'ah.
Hayah.
Hayah.
Ashah.
Ashah.
Barakah. Kawah. Hayah. Bashamayim.
Bashamayim.
Thundernow.
Lakam.
Call.
Yawah.
Waslakna.
Waslakna.
Kabwatna.
Wala'ah.
Tabi'ayna. Wanasaywa. Ball. Amashayna. Mayan. Ra. Hayah. Lakah. Kamalakna. وهفعل وعالم أمان للإنجل our Father who's art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. So be it. This is Hakak, the power, in the Hebrew, then in the English. Yahweh. Ba'ashim Yahshah. Barakashah. The thunder now. Hakak. Baraka'ah. Baraka'ah. Hakak. Batahar. Hamatazarayim. Hakak. Lahaki. Hamaki. Hakak. Araka'awah. Hatama'ala. Lagarashah. Ba'ashim Yahshah. The water and in the English, Yahweh in the name of Yahweh. Please give us the power. The power to heal all man's sickness. And all man's disease. The power to cleanse the leper. The power to raise the dead. The power against unclean spirits. To cast them out. In the name of Yahweh. Thank you. So be it. This is blessed Israel. Yahweh. Ba'ashim Yahshah. Barakna. Wa'yasha'ala. Waha'bayah. Sapari. Barak. Magan. Ba'ashim Yahshah. The water. And in the English, Yahweh in the name of Yahshah. Bless us. And Israel. And the school. Bless. Heal. Shield. Protect. In the name of Yahshah. Thank you. So be it. Song, which means to turn. That's it.
Like a sideshow, there ain't no quattro. Now I'm set by the prison man who live on this cosmos. Rep with no cause, trying to find direction. The world got vexed, picked up the bed, that's a red curve from fresh. But like my life was on fire, trying to find exit. Now look, 10 G's plus a good rent. Sometimes I follow what is soldier, trying to find a good ship. Cause us you in hell, how do it with hell? With the breath of life, I'm a fairy tale. Listen well to what I tell. No calling can cause pain. Something that a rebel knows very well. Can't you tell I was sent from the Lord? Got a tongue like a twin.